Hello and welcome to the Guardian Football Weekly. Oh, Canada in injury time. Stephen Eustachio, surely the biggest moment in the history of Canadian men's football. It wasn't a classic, but Canada had the better chances and deserved the win. Then we'll look back at last night. A draw suited Austria and Algeria, and it was a draw, but if they planned that, then fair play to all involved. Algerian fans celebrating Austria's late equaliser because it means they avoid Spain. Meanwhile, Lionel Messi comes off the bench and scores a free kick, but who's better, him or Ronaldo? Then we'll look ahead to the rest of the last 32. Some great games. We can really get ahead of ourselves and plot England's route to the final, semi-quarters, delete as appropriate. It's the final Langdon Vegetable Count. Get your totalisers out, your questions, and that's today's Guardian Football Weekly. On the panel today with me in LA, Barry Glendenning, welcome.
Hey, Max.
From the Racing Post for the last time, not ever, Mark, just so you know, just for this tournament. Mark Langdon, welcome.
Hi, Max.
And out in Houston, preparing to go to space, Jonathan Wilson. Hey, Wilson.
How are you doing?
So let's start then with Canada's 1-0 win over South Africa. I have been practicing Eustachio so many times because he deserves to have his name pronounced correctly. Colin Miller writing, he's the first ever number 7 who's represented Portugal to score a goal in a World Cup knockout game. But what, Barry, what a moment for him and what a moment for Canada.
Yeah, it was a real thrilling outcome to a game I was certain was going to end in a penalty shootout. I think that's what South Africa set out to play for. Canada were the only team who tried to win this game, and they should have won it more comfortably. They missed a couple of brilliant chances in the first half. Were denied a penalty. Well, a correct decision to deny it, I think, but it was 50. It looked 50-50 at first. And just with the game in added time, everyone resigned to another 30 minutes of not the most entertaining fare we've ever seen. Up pops Mr. Stecchiao to welly the ball into the bottom corner from just outside the area and win the game for Canada. And it prompted a rousing address from Jesse Marsch.
What a good one, I thought.
Yeah, it wasn't as
Mighty Ducks as you wanted it to be. Or
well, I thought it might be a bit more Jake Humphrey, but yeah, it was quite impressive, I suppose, for him. He's clearly very proud of what he's achieved with Canada. He's clearly very proud to be Canada manager, and despite being an American, he gives it socks when they're singing "Oh Canada" before the game, and they thoroughly deserve to win this because, as I said, they were the only team trying to win it.
I've been looking up, great moments in Canadian football after this, thinking, where does this sit? Because it's, you can forget if you're from the UK, right, that, doesn't really matter how England do, football will still be big, but this could be sort of life-changing for Canada. They won the Olympics in 2004, but that only included 3 teams in a total of 4 matches. And Galt FC, based in Cambridge, Ontario, finished first and earned Canada an Olympic gold. They won the Gold Cup in 2000, and the women won the Olympics in 2012. 04, by the way, 1904, they won Olympic gold. So this for them, Mark, is just enormous.
Absolutely, and you're right, Max, that I think in Europe you do take it for granted that football, soccer isn't kind of the main sport, and it'll be the same in Australia. I remember Ange Postecoglou talking about this exact same thing in terms of, you become national heroes, and Jesse Marsch said basically the same thing afterwards. All of these players, or virtually all of them, would have had to have left the country to kind of make a name for themselves in terms of football, because the standard just isn't there at home. They would have probably been mocked in the playground if they liked football, at one stage, given like in Canada, hockey would be huge. In the same in the US with all of their major sports. So it would have been a hard slog for those players to have got to where they've got to. In terms of this game, you're right to say it wasn't the classic. I actually think the hydration break really helped Canada, because South Africa, I felt, were kind of dangerous in that first 20 minutes. And then Jesse Marsch, he changed the way that Canada played. They stopped pressing South Africa, and South Africa wanted Canada to sort of come onto them, and then they tried to play around them. And after that hydration break, they just stood there, and the South African goalkeeper, But there were times when he had the ball at his feet for 20 seconds and was just waiting, and it never came. So, football is changing with these kind of breaks and turning it into quarters. And it's not the first game where the rhythm of the kind of game has completely changed after a manager's had that kind of moment a quarter of the way through a game.
How did you see it, Wilson?
I was a little bit disappointed in South Africa. I've been disappointed in them all tournament, really. That I saw them in 2023 when they got to the semi-finals of the Cup of Nations, and they were really good then. They were really good with the ball, playing in possession. And then the semi-final of that tournament, they played a back three for the first time against Nigeria, and nothing happened in the game, and they lost. And then the opening game of this tournament, they weren't great at the Cup of Nations this year. They looked a bit flimsy, and they lost to Cameroon, which was last 16, I think. And it's as if that defeat sort of really spooked them. So the opening game against Mexico, they played a back three again. I think that's the only time, or the first time they played a back three since that game against Nigeria. It was actually in 2024, even though it was the Cup of Nations of 2023. And it feels like they've been too passive too often. I'm not really sure that's their strength. So, I mean, they got through, and Hugo Bruce deserves great credit for that. But I do wonder if they might have been better served playing their more natural game.
Heroes are made from this, right? And players that we know nothing about. He actually played for Porto for about 4 years. Until he moved to LA, and lost his parents recently, both of them quite quickly together. Played Portugal under 21s until he opted to play for Canada in 2019. I just think, what an enormous moment for this guy. From living in Australia, I understand, and you touched on it, Mark, this idea that as far as this team get, like every round that Canada get through, or Australia get through, actually the US has got through, and like, Alex and the US guys that have been in this pod have mentioned this. It isn't just for these players. It's actually for anyone involved in this sport in Canada. I think we have our fifth biggest audience in Canada. For those people, everyone involved in grassroots all the way up, this will mean so much.
Oh, it absolutely will. And got next the Netherlands and Morocco. They'll fancy their chances against either of those sides, even though they'll be underdogs. More and more eyeballs will be on the screen. I mean, my sister is married to a Canadian. She lives in Halifax in Nova Scotia. He's a big hockey man. I don't know if he's in the slightest bit interested in the World Cup, but he is into sport. And if he wasn't watching this game today, I would imagine he will certainly be watching the next one. My experience of going to sports bars in Canada is hockey is the only game in town or the only show in town, and if they're not watching hockey, if it's the off season, then it's generally basketball that's on. One day last year I asked for them to put on a Women's World Cup match in the bar. They did, but they had no idea what the Women's World Cup was. It took them a long time to find the game I wanted. It was England women were playing someone, I can't remember who. But, no one was in the slightest bit interested in football.
But we did see, Mark, and there'll be listeners who were in those fan parks in Vancouver and Toronto. I don't know, I get quite emotional just seeing those moments when that goal went in.
Yeah, no, they're definitely special, the watch party that we saw in Vancouver. I think as well, the hope will grow because they've reached this stage mainly without Alphonso Davies, their best player. Like the crowd reaction when he came on, although it was a neutral venue, Los Angeles was mainly full of Canadian supporters, and like he made a difference just in terms of lifting the team when he came on. Now, Jesse Marsch has been saying throughout the World Cup he's fit, he's available, and then we've not seen him. He did the same before this match, and he's managed to get 30 minutes into his legs. Like, I think to stand a chance against Netherlands or Morocco, I'd be less confident on than Barry of them being able to give them a proper game. I'd say they're big outsiders. He needs to be fit and he needs to play and he needs to be able to impact and affect the game because as Jonathan said, like South Africa weren't great. I think we have to say that.
Yeah, even if they weren't great, Wilson, is them getting to the knockouts. We talk about like the impact on Canadian football, like, and I know it's a bigger tournament, so getting to the last 32 is not the same as getting to the knockouts in a previous World Cup. But do you think, even if they didn't perform brilliantly in this tournament, they will view it as a success when the dust settles?
I think they will. I mean, South African football's gone through a slightly strange process that Yeah, they won the Cup of Nations in '96. They were sort of decade after that. They were a pretty dominant side, and then they've really faded in the last 20 years. And getting to the semi-final in the 2023 Cup of Nations played in 2024 was a huge thing. So, the first time they've got to the stage, first time they've got out of the group, that is a big thing. I don't think people would say this is as good a side as the side that qualified for the World Cup in '98. But after 20 years, 25 years away, it clearly is a major thing. I just think they might be slightly frustrated that they didn't give it more of a go. They've got Mamelodi Sundowns, who won the African Champions League this year, so it's not that they're not used to success. It just tends to have come at club level rather than at national level. And obviously, it is different doing it in an African context to a global context.
Sure. You mentioned they play Canada play Netherlands or Morocco. More on the last 32 in a bit.
For quite a long time during this game, the most interesting thing about it was the fact that Danny Rojas from Ted Lasso was in the crowd. And I want to know, did that woman get her phone back?
Yeah.
The lady who dropped her phone during the Mexican wave had it knocked out of her hand out of the top tier.
Yeah, super slow-mo. You could see it just going over the
and
barrier.
The look on her face. Oh, did she get it back? I reckon she'll get it back. And I reckon we'll hear more about that.
Did it have its cover on it? On that note, I think there was an Argentinian fan who lost his wallet at some stadium, and then a fan found his wallet and started a chant for the person's wallet, and eventually it got around all the Argentinian fans, and they reunited the wallet. It was like a sort of tempered down version of Long Lost Family. Anyway, that'll do for part one. Part two, we'll look back at last night's games in Group J. Welcome to part two of the Guardian Football Weekly. So Group J, the last group to finish. Argentina won all their games, 9 points. Austria second with 4. Algeria third with 4. Jordan got no points. Argentina beat Jordan 3-1, but Algeria 3, Austria 3. And Barry, we were talking about, could this be a draw? It suited everyone involved. But I think it's fair to say this was not. The disgrace of hee-haw, this was not.
No, as Wilson said on the group chat this morning, it's the most complicated recipe for a biscotto there's ever been, if it was a biscotto. This was a brilliant game and a really odd game, because I think we all thought it's going to be a draw. But they traded goals. Austria went 1 up, Algeria came back. Austria went 2-1 up. Algeria came back, and that seemed to be that. They seemed to have more or less have an unwritten agreement. We'll just finish this out as a draw. And then 2 minutes into added time, Riyad Mahrez pounces to put Algeria 3-2 up. And everyone, you can see all the Austrians are just like, what the hell are you doing? What's happened here? And Riyad Mahrez has since said, he's acknowledged it was awkward. He said, I have to score. I have to try to score if the ball comes my way like that. I know it's football and I have to respect it, but it was awkward. So that's kind of what he said. So we thought, right, that's it. And the thing is, this goal he scored means that Algeria, instead of having to play Switzerland in the next round, now have to play Spain. But we're deep in added time, but Austria go on, and Kaladzic scores with a header, his first touch of the game, to restore parity. There's no way that the Algerians let them walk that into the net or anything. So if it was a fix, it was the most well-choreographed fix of all time. And so now it finished 3-3, much relief in the Austria camp, and they have to play Spain while Algeria gets Switzerland.
I mean, Iran have been through every emotion in this tournament, and like Taremi spoke afterwards as well, just about kind of how disgraceful he thinks they've been treated off the pitch, but just on it as well. To have had that goal disallowed in the 93rd, 94th minute for VAR offside call that's so marginal. They hit the bar twice as well late on, and they will have expected that Austria game to finish in a draw. But when Mahrez scores, they haven't got that long, and they're in. So they've gone through that agony all over again. I think Austria, though, are quite dangerous opponents. I mean, Arnautovic is playing well, and Sabitzer scored a brilliant goal as well. So they've got talented players in the team. But I assume this game is going to be a Paraguay Australia part 2, and I'm glad it wasn't.
Yeah, and actually, Wilson, you had this weird moment then. Kalasic scores, the Austrian fans are happy, and the Algerian fans are happy. So you just get a situation where just everyone's happy.
Yes. I mean, I guess from their point of view, every game is every game more they play is valuable, so they wouldn't be looking too far down the line. But yeah, I think it suggests something about how odd the format with best third place teams going through is, that there is such an obvious difference between having to play Spain and having to play Switzerland. But yes, it was a rare instance where the group stage ended with everybody apart from Iran being absolutely delighted. I
would also say there's a big advantage for those third place teams when you play last. So Austria and Algeria were the last teams to play, and they've got the whole picture in front of them on what they need.
So we need to play all the games at the same time.
Well, Scotland have had a lot of criticism. I'd say most of it deserved, but they did have to go out early and try and sort of set a bar or whatever it was. And a lot of those teams that went and played early, those like South Korea, weren't entirely sure what they needed to do. They went out. Scotland went out. So there was definitely an advantage to going late.
I mean, Barry struggles to watch 2 games at the same time.
I can't do it.
The champion
cannot do it.
You'd have to be a fly with compound eyes, wouldn't you, to watch all of those. Argentina beat Jordan 3-1. Going into the tournament, Wilson, I've said that Argentina weren't really at it. So they've confounded some critics already. I mean, they do look. I mean, Jordan. It's only Jordan this one, but so far, along with France, have been the best team in this tournament.
I mean, they finished top of South American qualifying, so I don't think anybody thought they were terrible. I think you look at that side and you'd say, I think the problem a lot of champions have is they stick with their champions for too long, and there has been that run of champions going out in the group stage. I mean, obviously didn't apply to France last time, but the 3 tournaments before that, was it, that happened? And I think there was maybe a bit of a concern that would be true of Argentina. You knew, I think it was entirely legitimate to wonder whether Messi doing it in MLS was the same as being able to do it in the World Cup. So, I mean, there were doubts, but I'm not sure they've entirely been answered by beating Algeria and Jordan and a slightly patchy win over Austria, where they got quite a lot of decisions seem to go their way. So they've now got a really easy run as well, haven't they? They've got Cape Verde and then the winner of Australia against Egypt, which, I mean, is obviously certainly once you get to the last 16, there's no easy games in the World Cup, but still some are easier than others. Yeah. And I'd say of the sort of 5 or 6 probable contenders, they probably have the simplest run to the semi-final.
Messi again, Mark.
He's good, isn't he, Max?
He's good, yeah.
No, he didn't start. Why bring him on in the first place? It
was nice to see Gio Lo Celso. I'd forgotten about him.
He was somebody that I hadn't realised he was in the squad. Really, I'm sure it was kind of in the back of my mind, but yeah, he just sort of popped up, and they were able to rest virtually their entire 11. Some teams have been able to do that. Others have been more at full tilt, and that it could be an advantage later on, particularly with the age of some of their players. But they just feel like a club team that's playing international football. Some of the sides are thrown together last moment. This Argentina team has just been together such a long time. They all know their roles within the team and the squad, and you don't hear of any arguments. Everybody knows that Messi's the star player. It's looking good for them, and as Jonathan said, the draw really couldn't have worked out any better.
All right, that'll do for part 2. Part 3, we'll look at the round of 32. Welcome to part 3 of the Guardian Football Weekly. I should do tomorrow's games first, then we can get into the brackets and the pathways. And actually, Wilson, it's so nice. Tomorrow is a great day. Brazil, Japan, Germany, Paraguay, Netherlands, Morocco. I think Brazil, Japan is perhaps the game of the round.
Yeah, and I'm very lucky that I'm going to it. So yeah, really looking forward to that. Slightly annoyed that my flight from Houston to Dallas means I will miss the bulk of the Netherlands-Morocco game, but I'd say those two are they're the two standout games from this round. I've now lost all confidence in my capacity to understand Carlo Ancelotti's sides, because they seem to operate to a different logic to everybody else, that they can play quite badly and then somebody, normally Vinicius, does something amazing. Japan, I've seen twice. I think they're really good. I think if Kubo is back, which supposedly he should be, that'll give him a bit of creativity that maybe maybe they lacked in that final group game. But I saw them beat Tunisia, and they were playing well within themselves in that game. After they were the first sort of 10-15 minutes, they could have been 3 or 4-0 up, and then they eased off. Still won it 4-0. So I think Japan. I mean, it's such an odd sentence to say, but I think Japan might have a beating of Brazil in midfield.
I wouldn't be surprised if Japan won this. It's going to be. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great contrast of styles, because Brazil are sort of this dysfunctional collective that are inspired by moments of brilliance from star players, while the Japanese team are very much, quite a few of their star players aren't there because they're injured. So it's just this brilliant collective who have great team chemistry. They all work for each other, and it would not surprise me if they beat Brazil. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me. And Japan, on their day, when they get the ball moving quickly, they're really, really good.
Well,
Yeah, I'm going to go back to what I said before the Scotland-Brazil game, in that, like, did Japan believe they can beat Brazil? I still, so many countries play Brazil with this psychological barrier there of it's Brazil, and you get that in the Champions League with Real Madrid. Like, often you think Real Madrid, they're not playing well, and yet the team that they're playing against just is not playing the team. They're playing the shirts and the team that Real Madrid used to be. And like, that would be my biggest concern for Japan, because when Morocco played Brazil, they were all over them. They were playing better than them, and they still couldn't beat them. And like that would that's why I'm probably just edge towards Brazil. And Ancelotti, he is very good at this, where it doesn't look like it should work necessarily on paper, and it doesn't always work. But he's so good at getting the best out of kind of individual star players. And Vinicius has left his Real Madrid form behind from what wasn't a good season for him personally. And he's been one of the best players in the World Cup.
how do you see Netherlands-Morocco, Wilson? Apart from not seeing it because you're on the plane.
It's actually one of those teams that slightly surprised me that they shouldn't have done, because you look at their players and they clearly have good players in every position, and obviously it's great that Brian Brobby's playing well and has scored 3 goals, and I think he sort of deserved that given his form in the season. In fact, he didn't start the first game, but he's come in because of injury to Somerville, and I think he's made them better balanced. Morocco, I think. Are they the best African side ever? I think they probably are. I wouldn't have said that in January necessarily, but I think under Huabi they've definitely kicked on a level that they now are playing with more belief. I sort of, during the Cup of Nations, I didn't really take seriously Morocco fans who were frustrated with how they were playing under Regragui. I sort of thought that's a typical fans saying take the handbrake off, but maybe you do have to play a bit more conservatively. But now Huabi's come in and has taken the handbrake off, and they look really, really good. So I think this is 50-50. I was about to say this could go either way, but you know what 50-50 means.
Yeah, I do. Thank you for explaining it to our new listeners. Barry, Germany, Paraguay. I mean, this would be an extraordinary upset if Paraguay got through this.
It would be, yeah. I think Paraguay tried to be expansive and play free-flowing football against the USA and got seriously bitten on the arse doing so. They ended up getting battered. So in the next 2 games, they ground out the necessary points required to get them to this stage. Their game against Australia was one of the worst games of football I've ever seen in my life, but I appreciate both teams. There was a means to an end for both of them. They will try to contain Germany. They will hope to score from a corner or free kick. This just isn't a vintage German side, but I expect them to have enough to beat Paraguay.
I mean, Mark, now we've got to a last 32. That's why we're letting you go. Because
Yeah,
we don't need to turn to someone and go, if they play there, if they finish there, who's going there? And Mark's just very diligently, you're not going, oh, shut up, like the rest of us.
I enjoy it.
I
enjoy the math behind working out where the third place teams are going, and I love a bracket. I don't like basketball, but I feel like I should for March Madness, and I can just have the biggest bracket going. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting last 32, isn't it? Because there are the games tomorrow are the best ones, and there are some unusual ties and some weak kind of areas where you think like the US, they'll fancy their chances against Bosnia. I think they will expect to beat Belgium or Senegal at home, and then all of a sudden, they're in a quarter-final. But then, like, Portugal could play Spain in the last 16. Germany could play France. Like, some real heavyweight tussles early on in the competition.
Yeah, England's route to the final, cough, said with no belief. So they've got DR Congo, and then the winners of Mexico, Ecuador, and that is in the same quadrant, whatever you want to say, with Brazil, Japan, and Ivory Coast, Norway. If you were going to plot that, Wilson, how do you see it going from an England perspective?
I mean, I think they should be all right against DRC, but that game, whether it's against Mexico, whether it's against Ecuador, at altitude, that's a big challenge. I mean, it's 2,250 metres above sea level. That's not nothing. I say, having twice tried to go running in Mexico City and found it incredibly difficult. And even if Mexico lose to Ecuador, Ecuador, one of a tiny handful of countries in the world who are even better at altitude than Mexico are. So I think that
Tibet,
game
and then we play Tibet.
will be a real challenge for England.
Yeah, I think you're right. Was someone telling me this on the pod? Were you telling me this, Mark, about how to deal with altitude?
Yeah. So
did we do that on this? I forget.
There's a lot of content out there, Max. But
there is. Did I do it on Selling Sunset? I can't remember.
Yeah, Christine Quinn was amazed at the two ways you can deal with altitude. One is to go very early in South American qualifying. Two ways that teams tend to do it is, one, you go very early, you acclimatise, and you're ready for it as much as you can be. The other way is to go in late and not let it kind of impact you that way. So, I mean, England, if they get there, won't really have a choice because they're just going to have so few days to prepare for it. I just think from England's point of view, even if they get through that last 16 game, and then say they play Brazil in the quarterfinals, that would be in Miami. Yeah. So they would have played high altitude last 16. Then you're playing in the heat of Miami in the quarterfinals. I think,
and that'd be like a Brazil home game.
Yeah, I think they'll be blowing out their backside by the semis if they get there, to be honest. So.
Well, can Ben Stokes play right back? That's the key. Get him in.
Christine Quinn, like ourselves, is used to altitude because she lives in the top floor of the apartment
Of course, maybe we could all play. France, widely seen as played the best so far. They've got Sweden, and then it's the winners of Germany, Paraguay. So presumably Germany, and then it will be, Netherlands or Morocco who beat Canada, unless of course Canada, with all due respect to Canada, etc. So do you see France are the most likely to get to the semis in that little bit, aren't they, Wills?
They are. I mean, I think that they're the strongest team with the strongest squad, but they've also got the hardest route. So in that sense, it's worked out. It's almost like a handicapping system that it works out really well. That they then have Spain, I think, in the semi-final. So as a route to get to the World Cup final, certainly looking at historical precedent, Sweden have been in a World Cup final. I mean, admittedly not for nearly 70 years. Then Germany, then the Netherlands, say, then Spain. That's pretty much as tough as it gets. So, I think France are the best team, but that is the hardest route, and maybe they do falter.
Yeah, important to point out there's nobody from that World Cup final 1958 team in the current squad for Sweden.
I don't think Sweden are anything to worry about for France. I mean, they've had one good game against Tunisia.
No, they're not. I was just trying to pick it up.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Keep people interested in football. What about the other Portugal? So Portugal play Croatia, Spain, Austria. So we presume Spain would get through. I don't know if you're not sure about Spain or Portugal.
I think Portugal might be better when they're playing against a better team and they've not got the ball and are trying to do this thing with Cristiano Ronaldo that's not quite working anyway. No, I just think Spain have been very pedestrian so far. Now that could change if Yamal explodes into the tournament, but he isn't fully fit. Williams on the other side definitely isn't fit at the moment, and I've not been that impressed with Spain so far. They should beat Austria, but Austria are good at set pieces and might be able to keep it tight. If it becomes a Portugal-Spain last 16 game, I wouldn't be confident that Spain would win that. No.
Belgium-Senegal is a really interesting game, Wilson. I think the winners will play the winner of the US-Bosnia. So who are we going to see in the last 16 in that little bit?
Yeah, I mean that Senegal-Belgium game is I think that's arguably the best balance to these last 32 ties, because I think Senegal are better than we saw in their first 2 games ago, those games against France and Norway. I think they possibly have got a problem with a couple of players who've just sort of just started to go over the top of the hill just at the same time. So Koulibaly, they left out for the third group game, and I think that was necessary. Mane hasn't had a good tournament either. Now, Mane was very, very good at the Cup of Nations when Senegal maybe won it, maybe he didn't. We'll find out later. So I wouldn't worry too much about him, but I think Koulibaly's been showing signs of wear for sort of 6 months or so. So the fact they have finally sort of decided to take that decision is probably good. And Belgium looked really sort of flimsy and flaky, and then finally they got it together in the third group game as well. So I think that's a really tight tie. What I will say about Bosnia is they are defensively very good, and we know they're good at penalties. So USA probably should win that, but the longer it goes at 0-0, the more you think Bosnia have got a good chance.
And then the other 4 that we sort of touched on, Argentina, Cape Verde, and then they'll play the winners of Australia, Egypt. I met some Socceroos fans in a Australian cafe this morning. Do you think, Mark, they can get past Egypt?
I mean, they can. I mean, that looks a difficult one to call. I wouldn't think there'd be many goals in the game. Australia want to play counter-attack. I think Egypt are better when they can counter as well, with Marmouche and Salah, who might be a doubt, having gone off quite early in that third game. So I think that one might go all the way to penalties.
And you presume Colombia would come out of the Switzerland-Algeria, Colombia-Ghana bit.
I think that they might be Argentina as well. I've got them down now as potential finalists. I think Colombia have been one of the teams that have impressed me the most so far in this tournament. So many fans there as well, so they're turning games into home matches. But the defence has been strong. I mean, Davinson Sanchez, he's done no-look marking before, but he was doing no-look passes against Portugal. The midfield, he's been able to rotate players as well. Munoz didn't play in that last match and was very influential earlier on. Luis Diaz is somebody that can win matches on his own. Suarez, the striker who scored a lot of goals in Portugal this season, didn't play in that last game. James, he can't do it for 90 minutes.
Looks so good, though.
But for 60, 70 minutes, he's still got that ability to open up defences. So I think they'll get past Ghana. I think they'll beat probably Switzerland in the next round. Sets up a quarter-final against Argentina, where I'd go for red cards and a narrow Colombia win. And I don't see any reason, if they were to beat Argentina, why they should then be scared of an England or Brazil. So I think Colombia are the new dark horses for me.
Now, any other thoughts, Wilson?
Yeah, I've seen Colombia twice live, and the player who stood out for me, who I didn't know anything about, is the left back Mojica. Mm-hmm. He gets forward really well, delivers the ball really well. So I think his link up with Diaz on that left side is really significant for them. I mean, I've saw Spain against Uruguay, and they were really disappointing. So I would completely agree with Mark that I don't trust them to keep going at all. And Portugal in that quarter, it's not a quarter, is it? There's just 4 teams involved. Mm-hmm. That
bit a lot.
Something. Octave? Octit? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. They've failed to score in 5 of the last 6 tournament games. So yeah, there's a really obvious problem there. We don't need to point it out again, but it's not going to go away.
On to any other business. Specifically, Mark Langdon and Vegetable Watch. When you announced you had a McDonald's yesterday, Pete says, was there pickle on the McDonald's?
No, it was a breakfast.
It was a breakfast, of course. But since then, you've had some fried chicken, which had pickles in it, and you ate the pickles.
I like pickles, yeah, very much. Yeah.
Well, we saw that on the Instagram diaries. McGowder said, pickles staying is an absolute earthquake of a revelation. T.R. Marshall said, pickles. Mark Langdon is basically plant-based. So could we have the final vegetable count?
Well, today the regular breakfast
came back. Honey Nut Cheerios.
Honey Nut Cheerios. Yeah, a solid starter. There was no need for a bridge because the lunch was supposed to be early. The Uber driver seemed to go all around LA before he eventually delivered the fried chicken to me and Barry. Mm-hmm. So the chips did not survive the traffic that well. But the chicken burger was top standard from Gus's Fried Chicken, had cheese, had mayo, and pickles, lots of pickles. So for anybody that was worried about my health, you don't need to. I've had my pickles intake and I'm ready to go. And I think dinner is in a steak restaurant tonight, isn't it?
I don't know. Yeah, we're finishing early, so all out for dinner together. Very exciting. I might have a little nap first. Barry said I'm like a cat earlier today. My superpower is just sleeping whenever I can. Yeah. Bruce Millington's been in touch with a former colleague.
Former boss.
Former boss. Oh, yeah. He says, please, Mark is out there. Here's a great Lango fact that might give you some fodder. He once told us that at his school, they didn't sing hymns in assembly. They sang pop songs, including, intriguingly, Been Around the World by Lisa Stansfield. Still can't get my head around a school hall full of kids doing that high-pitched bit she does towards the end. You may be able to glean more. Is that's what
it's true, and yeah. I mean, I've got no added info beyond that, but I mean, you know, we were told what to do, and we delivered it well.
So did you have like a hymn book, and it went number 64, Lisa Stansfield, Been Around the World?
I can't remember. It's in primary school, but
And did they have the bit written down when they go, I can't find my baby. I don't know.
It must have done. I mean, we couldn't have known the words. So I'm assuming there was some sort of help there. But yeah, I mean, you know, when you're young and you're in school, you don't realise that that's abnormal. But you know, we were in school. We did what we were told.
It beats all things bright and beautiful, Barry, isn't it?
It's a hard song to sing. Like really difficult.
Do you remember any others that you had to sing?
8 Days a Week by the Beatles. We sang that as well.
Okay.
I don't know why. I have no idea why. I don't know if that says anything about my education since, and sort of the way I've dragged myself to this.
If we end up doing karaoke tonight, then you can give us your best Lisa Stansfield.
I met Lisa Stansfield once.
Did you?
I did, in a bar in Dublin.
Oh, right.
Very nice woman.
Oh, that's nice.
She used to live in Dublin. I don't know if she might still do.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you have a nice chat?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did
she called me Chuck a lot.
Chuck.
Chuck.
All right, Chuck.
She's very northern.
Chuck Glendenning.
Chuck.
Chuck Glendenning sounds like someone who comes sort of 7th in the TPC at Sawgrass. Quite a lot. Chuck Glendenning the third.
I'll tell you, I'd take a couple of 7th place finishes at Sawgrass too. You wouldn't be the last you'd see me.
Anyway, Mark, it's been a great pleasure. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I seem to have built up. There's certainly an angry community of tomato eaters that have been on, but their lectures and funnily enough are not going to make me change my mind on whether I should eat.
So,
tomatoes.
are they people who love tomatoes? Because you're going to upset someone.
Yeah, but like I was speaking to somebody the other week, and they told me they didn't like lamb.
Right.
And I didn't sort of.
You didn't have a go at them?
I didn't dress them down for not liking the best meat around for a Sunday roast. I just said, oh, okay, and we moved on and both enjoyed the rest of our day. I say I don't like tomatoes.
These tomato stands will get at you, won't they?
The tomato ultras can do one, yeah.
All right, well, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Wilson. Thanks for your time, pal.
The word I was looking for was 8. I realised when Mark said 8 days a week. Yeah. When I was trying about octets.
We'll see you in New York.
Now he's wondering who Lisa Stansfield is.
Lisa Stansfield's from Rochdale, I know that. And I once got death threats from the Oxford University Vegan Society. Like Mark, I have suffered from vegetable eaters.
Well,
although I am one myself.
Fruit eaters, don't upset the tomato lot any more than we already have. And that'll do for today. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Wilson.
Cheers, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Matt.
Cheers, Barry.
Thank you.
Football Weekly is produced by Rory Simon and Matt Bentley-Viney. Our executive producer is Joel Grove. We'll be back tomorrow.